Once upon a time, there were 3 princesses. They each lived in different regions of the kingdom, but they had the same father, the king. One day, the king set the princesses on a journey. They were tasked to climb a mountain and connect with the spirit of the earth, as well as each other. He sent a duke, 2 knights, and a couple of maids with the princesses to make sure they were cared for. They met at one of the towers in the kingdom before leaving for their journey. They traveled most of the day on rough roads with the field workers and their animals. They moved through the rough roads on the long summer sled pulled by 4 sled dogs. The trail was rocky and bumpy, but the sled made the ride smoother. As they grew closer to their destination, they suddenly felt an odd shift in their ride. One of the dogs stepped on a nail from the horseshoe. The dog did not yelp, but it began to limp. This was the dog placed in the back left of the 4 dogs. He had an important role in making sure the sled turned when it was supposed to. The Duke stopped the sled and went to look at the dog's paw. The nail was sticking out of the corner of its pad. After moving the dog from his position, they removed the nail from his paw and placed him on the sled to be cared for. There was no way they could let the dog pull anymore. They had another dog in case of the situation such as this. But as they moved to get the other dog off the sled and out of the cage, they noticed that they did not have a key or any other tools to get the dog out of the cage. The dog whined to be released. They had no way of moving from the position, and having the other 3 dogs pull would make the journey rough. The Duke searched one of the packs on the sled to see if they could use anything they had, but they had nothing. Nothing they found could help release the dog from its cage. As he and the knights continued to search for ways to help the dogs be released, the 3 princesses and their maids went out and found an abandoned shack. They entered the shack to see if there was anything inside that could help. They only found weeds and rotting wood. As they moved out of the shack, another group of sled dogs came on the road. They moved towards the royal crowd. It was rare for more travelers to go on this trail. They pulled next to the royal sled and offered to help. The people on the sled happened to be a family that had a history of getting stuck on this road. They had their own tools as they hoped would help open the cage. The tools didn't work. The tools they had were too weak to open the strong cage the dog was placed in. Moments later, another sled appeared on the road. He was a peddler. The peddler also stopped to help. He wondered what was taking place and asked the group what was going on. He noticed one of the dogs was missing from the sled. When he asked if there was anything he could do, they explained the situation. The peddler moved towards the dog cage and stared at the lock. He pulled out a tool from his peddler belt and started to play with the lock. The royal crowd watched until the peddler pulled away from the cage. With one swift movement, the cage swung open, and the dog was let out. After they released the dog from the cage and put him back in the front of the sled with the others, the royal group thanked the men for stopping to help. For them to find not just 1, but 2 kind men willing to stop in the area was a miracle, and they were thankful that it happened. They promised the men and their families they would receive many blessings from the king. The peddler and the family went on their way as the royal crowd continued to ready their sled to leave. Once all was prepared, they continued on their destination. And that is where we will stop for now.